So hey ladies and gents, this is D. Marie Hair. I recorded a video about the theory of cutting waves with the grain and against the grain a very long time ago. But I never did get to give you guys that demo that I was talking about. So that's what this is. I was over at one of the Tricoci campuses visiting, and we just went ahead and jumped into some haircuts while I was there. So that's what this is. So my client here gets a haircut about once a week. I think it's normally like a 2 with the grain or something relatively long. I was explaining here while I was talking to the students the theory that I gave on the other video, right? That if you leave the hair long enough that you cut past the trough, that you won't cut it too short for the wave to still show. And if you need a refresher on that, then go back to that other video. This one is just a straight video demonstration of what I was talking about in that video. So you guys see here, I have the 1 guard on my wall seniors. I'm all the way open. I tried it with the 2 guard closed first just to make sure I didn't cut it too short. I got absolutely no hair off of his head with the 2 guard closed, which was fine because when you're cutting waves against the grain, you really want to make sure you start longer and work your way down to make sure that you don't cut the hair too short for the client. Because cutting it against the grain is going to cut it shorter than they're used to with the grain, because you're not just cutting off the top of the waves, you're actually picking the hair up and cutting it evenly, which is, really kind of different than cutting it on top. And that's what I'm showing you here. I cut the rest of his head against the grain, and in this part I'm just going to show you with the grain and the variations of the color. See how it goes dark light when you go over the top of the grain? It's because you're only cutting off the top of the curls. You're not actually picking it up and making the hair even. That's why you get that patchy, uneven look where it goes light to dark, light to dark. Another benefit of cutting it against the grain is that you don't have to worry about that cowlick or whorls or anything like that. As long as you stay absolutely against the grain of the hair, you can cut that whorl any kind of way. You're not going to put a big hole in it. When you try to cut it with the grain, if you make a mistake and you don't stay exactly with the grain, you're going to hit that cowlick and punch a big hole in it where it looks really short compared to everything else. You don't have to worry about doing that with cutting against the grain. The haircut is going to come out nice and even as long as you just cut everything nice and even. So yeah, I mean, it's really simple. Another thing about cutting waves against the grain instead of with the grain is that when you're tapering up, like I'm about to start tapering him up in a little bit in the back and the sides. When I'm cutting his hair against the grain, I know it's a 1 open. So I know exactly what steps I need to get in order to fade to do a ball taper from skin to a 1 open, right? I need to, well, for me, tapering up, I'm gonna go, no guard half and then no guard open, and I'm gonna use a 0 guard halfway, and I'm gonna open up my 0 guard, and I should be faded up into my 1.5. So it's a very easy process when you're cutting the hair against the grain because you know the exact length of the hair. If I were to cut his waves with the grain over the top of them, I don't really have an accurate measurement of how long the hair really is. Some of it, where I just cut across the top of the grain, is going to be significantly shorter than those low points in the curl where it's pretty thick down there because I haven't reached down to cut it. And again, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go back and watch the theory video. So I actually cut this entire head. Well, we stopped the video at 17 minutes. And I think I was just finishing lining him up. I put the razor on him and called it a day. So I might have cut this whole haircut in 20 minutes because I knew exactly where I was going. Everything had been knocked down to a one open already, so there was no guessing as to, you know, how long the hair was and how many guards I was going to have to flick through in order to get there. Like, it was dummy proof. And as you guys can see right here in the video, his hair is lighter substantially, right? So there's less hair on the head. You can still see his waves very well. It's not a problem seeing the waves. The good thing about the hair being shorter is that any of you guys have been cutting hair for a while, even if you have waves and you've been wearing a do-rag for a while, you know how the do-rag can start to leave the line at the sideburn, right? You know how it can leave the line around the back of the nape once it starts rubbing. It'll eventually start to create enough friction on your hair where it's going to break off and rub off in those points. Excuse me. And that, my friends, is not a good look if you're trying to get wavy. So brush the hair, keep it clean, lay it down, and then when you cut it against the grain, you're going to be able to cut it shorter so that you don't have to do so much maintenance to keep the hair laying down. You only have to work so hard to keep the hair laying down because it's so long, because you're cutting it over the top of the hair. You're only cutting the high parts of the crests of the wave. You're not getting it even, and then so some of the hair is really long, some of it's short, and it's just all kind of a problem. But if you pick it all up and you cut it against the grain, you're going to be able to cut it shorter, which is going to have you having less hair that you actually have to manage, and then you can get some freedom from those do-rags and stocking caps and all of those things that really will end up putting a lot of friction on your hair and making it harder to manage, and inevitably, you know, just kind of thinning it out in the places that it's rubbing and causing a lot of friction. So here I am doing a little bit of that taper in the back that I was showing you guys. I didn't at this point have a half guard, so I think I snatched ones from somebody to make my taper in the back a little bit easier. If you're not terribly familiar with fading, that jump between not having a guard on it, even when it's all the way open, and having a one guard on there all the way closed, can be a little bit of a big gap sometimes. So that zero guard, aka the half, will save your life on some of those haircuts. So I'm just demonstrating here, and I was telling the students while we were doing it that if you have a client who is just insistent that you cut their hair with the grain, cut it against the grain like I did first, because what are they going to do? Jump up out of the chair and run and leave? And you know, they're going to stay there and just do it, especially when they end up getting some really good results out of it. And then you can go over the top of the hair like I'm doing right now. Just brush it down and go with the grain just to knock the little wispy ones off. So underneath, you still have a really clean, even haircut. And then you're just going over the top doing some cleanup. So that's a nice compromise there. So that is really kind of all the narrative that I have for you guys with this one. Again, if you need some help, some understanding with the theory, then for sure go back and review the theory video that I did explaining the crest and the troughs, the high points, the low points, so that you really get to understand the theory with cutting hair against the grain versus with the grain. As you guys can see here, cut the hair against the grain, and I cut it pretty short. I cut it one open, which is less than 1/8 of an inch. And as he said, which was new jargon to me because I'm a little, you know, not necessarily young anymore. He said his waves were bussin'. They was bussin'. And he enjoyed it. The hair, he thought it was pretty hot. And definitely going to be less maintenance for him in the long run. He doesn't wear a do-rag anyway, which is awesome, I think. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't even need one. Like, his hair's so short and he still has waves, bussin', as he said. So like, what's the need? You know what I mean? Just keep it clean, brush it on a regular basis, or lay it down, and you're good to go, man. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now because it's not my thing, and just let you guys check out the rest of the video. So yeah, man, as usual, D. Marie here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have any criticisms, any suggestions, anything you want to weigh in on, feel free, man. I'm open. You can drop a comment below, or you can reach out to me at D. Marie Hair on any platform. I'm D. Marie Hair, just like it's spelled in the logo, DeeMarieHair at Yahoo. Oh my God, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, yeah, all that good stuff, and Gmail if you want to email me, dmariehair@gmail.com. Let me know if you want to see any more tutorials. I'm always down, guys. I just need to know what you want to see, and if you have any questions for me specifically, like, drop them. Let me know. You know, I'm always down to share knowledge, man. That's what it's all about. So, one love, Barber love. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for riding with me. You guys have still been subscribing, even though I've been straight ghost lately. Had a lot of stuff going on, so I'm really sorry for that. But I got a lot of good content that I want to share with you guys. It's just a matter of actually getting around and doing it. So, stay tuned, man. Share, subscribe, do all that beautiful stuff. You guys, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. I'm signing off. These last 6 minutes are just going to be you checking out my tapering skills and some of the lining skills. And let me just say this. I said this in the audio, but I muted the audio because you guys didn't really need to hear the conversations that the students were having. Some of it was, you know, a little personal, but I do not condone or endorse the pushback that happened on his lining. I just want to say that. But I knew that I was only visiting and that this guy was going to go back to his regular barber. So I went ahead and put his lining back where his old barber had it. Not my thing. I do not push hairlines back. I don't spray them in. I don't, you know, use enhancements and all of those things. I just kind of let the work be the work. But no shade. If that's your thing, then that's your thing. It's no problem. But just so you guys know, that is not my lining and I don't love it. All right, y'all. Take care. I love y'all.